Tonight on West Dakota Fox News at 9, heavy rains and flooding wash out the West Coast. Plus, a tragic end for the victim targeted in a Maryland school shooting. But first, another round of winter weather bears down on West Dakota.
This is West Dakota Fox News at 9 with Molly Martinez and meteorologist Henry Blakes. Your first news of the night starts right now on West Dakota Fox News at 9.
Good evening, I'm Molly Martinez. Let's get right to it with our top story with meteorologist Henry Blakes.
Hey, thank you, Molly. We still got snow across much of the region, but conditions have improved across the Minot area. However, you're still under a no travel advisory from NDOT. Notice not many cars at all on the road. This is a live shot, only 2 cars from what we see right now. The roads aren't closed, but if you don't need to be out driving, it's best that you remain home or indoors. As you see, many of people in the Magic City are taking that advice. The snow, at least the moderate snow, is pushed east of Minot. That's good news. So you're getting time to dry off. But into Towner, Bottineau, West Hope, especially Rugby and Harvey, getting in on that band of moderate snow over Willow City right now, heading to Rugby. All this pushing to the northeast. A little farther to the south, getting some precipitation from Hertzville up to Harvey, pushing east to Fessenden and Heimdall, and then in around the Gackle area, the heavier snow has pushed east of you into the Jamestown and Freed area. Also a little moderate band just over Still, but conditions have greatly improved. At least the snow from the ground conditions have greatly improved across the Highway 83 corridor on westward. Winter storm warning still remains in effect for Ward County and surrounding areas, shaded in brown for now until 7 o'clock Central Time in the morning. Winter weather advisory elsewhere has been canceled for the Highway 85 corridor, but Bisman, as well as Jamestown, Devils Lake, and west of Minot still remaining under the advisory. Watford City, 7 inches of snow, 6 inches in Williston, 4.8 at the Bismarck Airport, 2.5 in Dickinson, and Minot. That's a 4 o'clock p.m. report of 3.5 inches. Molly, we haven't received any additional reports from Minot, but with the heavy snow they had earlier this morning, I'm sure that amount will be higher. But hey, got a nice looking weekend forecast ahead for you.
All right, thank you, Henry. Due to the snow, some students in our area got the day off, and they got the news from an unlikely source. Beulah Superintendent Travis Jordan announcing school's cancellation via Facebook, and we'll let the video speak for itself.
People waiting by the phones to hear what's going down. People just stay home, it's a safe thing to do. Play your Xbox and your PlayStations, and clean your mama's house too. And school is closed. School is closed. School's closed today. Ah! Stay home. Ah! Have a good day. Ah!
Kind of seems like he was more excited about school being canceled than the students. Travis, we don't blame you. Here in Bismarck, once the snow stops falling, it's a race to get the streets cleared. But turns out the city doesn't necessarily have a snow removal budget. That money just comes out of the general fund. Maddie Jelseth shows us how city pools its resources to clear the roads.
The Public Works Department has a road and streets budget that doesn't come from property taxes. It comes from the state motor vehicle fuel tax and licensing fees. That budget helps maintain their equipment, pay their employees, and fill their gas tanks.
The only other revenue stream that we have would be sales tax, and that was in the initiated measure back in 2000 when the public voted to have the snow gates. And in that measure, it stated that the snow gates would be paid for from sales tax.
Snow gates are used to help the public so they don't have to shovel the end of their driveways. But with heavy wet snow like this, using the gates slowed down their operations.
The guys are, pretty astute at how to operate those gates and to keep them operable.
Using snow gates is funded by sales tax. However, Hines says he's seen a steady decrease in the general budget since 2014. Hines also says there needs to be a decision on how the city is going to continue to finance street maintenance.
So far this year, the Public Works Department has spent more than $650,000 on snow removal operations. With more than 60 inches of snow last year, removal operations cost almost $4 million. Well, for people who depend on Meals on Wheels for lunch each day, the weather can present a challenge for drivers trying to get out and deliver. Today, reporter Megan Hoffman got to go and ride along with a volunteer who braved the elements to serve up some smiles.
Usually these volunteers have more time to get these meals packed up and ready to go. But on days like today, they're working against the clock.
Maybe we better do 19.
Every situation's different, so you can't prepare for everything. So we do our best.
The Mandan Meals on Wheels program has 7 routes delivering to about 70 homes each day, with road conditions deteriorating throughout the day.
I better stop. Let's see if I can.
They've moved delivery times up an hour to get drivers off the roads. Henry Schrader has been volunteering for about 10 years as a backup driver. He's delivering to about 10 people on this route who are over 60 and homebound.
So just getting that hot, nutritious meal to them every day is really important.
Okay, here's my first stop.
Schrader's gotten to know many of them and says it's fun to see the same people who appreciate what he's doing.
It might be just a little Tootsie Roll or something, you know, they show their appreciation one way or another.
Well, thank you.
You betcha.
So much.
Hot vegetable soup tastes great on a day like today, especially if you can't get out to get it yourself.
Speaking of hot meals, since the city closed its doors to the homeless shelter, many people in our community are at the mercy of the elements. But one soup kitchen is pitching in to help fill the void.
A hot bowl of soup tastes good on a cold day, and Heaven's Helpers try to make sure everyone in need can get a warm meal.
Thank you.
Our goal is to offer a free meal with love and respect to anybody who needs one in the community.
Those that are homeless or just going through a rough time can swing by anytime.
They are great people. They do have some good food here.
Meyer says that they get around 200 people in here on a regular day.
People can come and have a meal twice a day if they need, but there's somewhere to go, warm up, and yeah, that's important.
He says they get fewer people on stormy days. Those with cars don't like risking the road trip to the cafe. For West Dakota Fox News at 9, I'm John Sally.
President Donald Trump recently announced that there will be a new tariff against China. Those tariffs affect about $50 billion worth of Chinese imports following a 7-month investigation into intellectual property theft. The implementation of these tariffs has some North Dakota farmers concerned that the Chinese might retaliate by putting tariffs on them.
Things are evolving on a daily process, and yet we know that in the days and weeks to come here that things are yet to change. Our hope is that soybeans are not a part of this of any retaliation process.
In addition to the tariffs, the U.S. also plans to impose new investment restrictions. In crime news, Bismarck police say they've arrested a 43-year-old man accused of stabbing someone outside a bar. According to the victim, 43-year-old Jeffrey Knight promised him he would pay him $40. Last night, the victim got a call from Knight to come to the Tap In Tavern to collect his money. When he got there, the victim says Knight stabbed him in the stomach. Police later found Knight at his home covered in blood. They also found a knife in his car. Earlier today, the Bismarck Police Department released a statement saying the officer who shot Ulysses Villalobos in January was justified. BPD says the matter was taken to the Ward County State's Attorney's Office from Burleigh County for review. Police have not yet released the name of the officer, but per protocol, an investigation was conducted into the incident. Ward County State's Attorney Rosanna Larson says the officer acted, quote, reasonably and justifiably. A Williston man serving 30 years in prison just lost his appeal to the Supreme Court. 25-year-old David Mlubu is accused of several brutal crimes against a woman in Williams County in 2015. Investigators say the victim had been sexually assaulted and was found beaten and bloodied walking down a road near Epping. Mlubu argued that there was no sufficient evidence for conviction. The Supreme Court disagreed. Washington was on edge today after a brief refusal by the president to sign a spending bill that would keep the government open. He eventually did, but reporter Lauren Blanchard shows us some of his grievances.
Therefore, as a matter of national security, I've signed this omnibus budget bill.
The president calling an impromptu press conference announcing he's agreed to sign the $1.3 trillion spending bill approved by Congress.
I say to Congress, I will never sign another bill like this again. I'm not going to do it again. Nobody read it. It's only hours old.
The president saying he'd considered vetoing the bill given it didn't provide enough funding for his border wall or a solution for young immigrants brought into the country as children under the DACA program.
I do want the Hispanic community to know and DACA recipients to know that Republicans are much more on your side than the Democrats who are using you for their own purposes.
But ultimately, what is in the bill convinced the president to sign it, particularly the $700 billion line item designated for the Department of Defense.
So we'll have by far the most powerful nuclear force on Earth, and it'll be absolutely in perfect shape and condition, and hopefully, praise be to God, we don't ever have to use it.
Officials say at least 3 people were killed and about a dozen others wounded in a hostage situation in southern France today. The deadly chain of events started around 10:30 a.m. local time when police say the attacker hijacked a car, killing one of the people inside. The gunman then shot at a group of police officers before taking hostages in a nearby grocery store, where he fatally shot 2 more people. The standoff went on for hours and ended when police stormed the market and killed the attacker. Authorities indicate that the suspect was known to police, and the French media reports say he claimed to be associated with ISIS. A 16-year-old girl who was critically injured in a shooting at a Maryland high school earlier this week has died. The St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office says Jalen Wiley died Thursday after being taken off life support. Jalen's parents said earlier this week that she was brain dead and that there was, quote, no life left in her. Investigators say Wiley and the shooter had recently ended a relationship and that she was targeted. A New York City firefighter was killed late last night following a blaze on a movie set in Harlem. 175 firefighters and 39 FDNY vehicles rushed to the scene just before 11 p.m. The 5-story building was being used to film a new Bruce Willis movie called Motherless Brooklyn. It's unclear at this time what started the fire as authorities continue to investigate. And 2 firefighters made the ultimate sacrifice while battling a blaze in rural Pennsylvania. 59-year-old Ivan Flasha and 29-year-old Zachary Anthony were killed while responding to a fire in York County. The 2 were part of a group that was inside the building when part of it collapsed. They're the first firefighters to be killed in the line of duty in the area in nearly half a century. 2 other firefighters were injured in the collapse but are expected to survive. And cell phone video capturing the moment a police officer in California dashes across a busy highway to pull a man to safety. That happened yesterday. This is in Sacramento. People were protesting nearby after an officer fatally shot an unarmed black man, but they say this guy wasn't associated with the demonstration. Also in California, motorists are being warned to not to drive through rushing waters because this might happen. This is in Santa Clarita. It's the latest round of heavy rains causing flooding and mudslides in the region. Mandatory evacuations were issued for portions of Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. And as if extinction wasn't enough, now dinosaurs are catching on fire. This is at a T-Rex theme park in southern Colorado. The owner of the park says an electrical malfunction sparked the fire, completely engulfing the dino. The fire was quickly contained, but the T-Rex is a total loss. In health news, if you want to live longer, portion control might be the key. That's advice from a small clinical trial at the Pennington Biomedical Research in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Researchers there found that people who reduced their caloric intake by just 15% over 2 years experienced a significant improvement in metabolism and slower aging. This is no joke. Former comedian Byron Allen is buying the Weather Channel for $300 million. Allen said he was attracted to the reach and familiarity of the brand. Allen's company produces and syndicates TV shows and has released films such as last year's thriller 47 Meters Down. Allen said he wants to invest more in the Weather Channel, expanding both its international and local distribution. Over now to our own weather star, meteorologist Henry Blakes.
Hey, thank you.
From around the country and around the globe will participate in the March for Our Lives. The movement began after the deadly school shooting in Florida. Now, teens are urging for legislation to keep them safe from gun violence. But not everyone is on board. Reporter Peter Ducey explains.
Students from Stoneman Douglas High and other schools across the country are in Washington, pushing lawmakers for gun control a day ahead of the March for Our Lives rally on Saturday. The students meeting with senators and members of Congress on Capitol Hill, sharing their stories and asking Congress to help make their schools safer.
We had 2 think through what had happened and acknowledge that it was real. And it took me a really long time to finally accept that this happened and this is my school.
We're gonna fight for the people that we lost, and I'd like to think that we have done that since then.
The action isn't limited to Washington. Schools across the country staging walkouts in solidarity with the Stoneman Douglas students, and the movement even went global. School shooting survivors in Israel holding their own rally, hoping to raise pressure on American lawmakers.
Now there's so much change, everyone has come together, and hopefully this never happens to anyone ever again.
But not every student is in favor of the push for gun control. Some are speaking out against the rally, saying it politicizes the tragedy at an inappropriate time and makes it more difficult to seek meaningful reform.
Simply representing this as the NRA issue is so counterproductive because we could be doing real legislation to make sure this won't happen again, and here we are pointing the finger at the NRA.
Other events today include a vigil at the National Cathedral and a benefit concert ahead of the main event, a big march on the National Mall, noon tomorrow. On Capitol Hill, Peter Ducey, Fox News.
A march will be held in Bismarck tomorrow as well. Organizers say it will happen rain or shine or snow. The event kicks off at 1 p.m. at the Capitol building. Organizers say the March for Our Lives Bismarck does not have a political stance, just a call for action. We're still a ways off from football season, but some baby bison are training in the off-season. These babies are enjoying their new home at the zoo in South Bend, Indiana. This morning they were caught on camera playing and having fun in their new habitat. The zoo opens for the 2018 season, March 30th. All right, they're enjoying spring. We are not, Henry.
We are not, and we're still dealing with fog out there, and that's going to result in some light drizzle for tonight. So freezing drizzle will be a possibility tonight into the morning hours. Otherwise, we'll be waking up to cloud cover, but temperatures in the upper 30s for tomorrow, 40s for the second half of the weekend and next week, with another disturbance on Sunday and Monday.
All right, stay safe on the roads and have a great weekend.